Hey, St. John, welcome to the Post-Sermon Podcast. This is Deaconess Dehlia, and today we are not having our typical post-sermon podcast episode. Lately, I've been diving into the topic of vocation. Vocation means a calling given to us by God, and we have multiple callings, and they're not just jobs, and I thought it would be interesting to interview some of St. John's members about their vocations. I recently interviewed the Schneck family about their vocations as foster parents, and today I am interviewing Chloe Heintz, who is a music therapist at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Welcome to the podcast, Chloe.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So I am curious, have you ever been on a podcast before? Is this your first time?
I think this is my first.
Now I know a lot of people at St. John know who you are, but for those who don't, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family? I'd love even a fun fact about yourself.
Well, I am from Kalamazoo, Michigan originally, and I grew up in a family of 4 kids and my parents. And my fun fact actually has to do with my family. My go-to is that I'm a triplet. So I have a brother and a sister who are the same age as me. And yeah, that's kind of fun.
And you're the oldest, right? Of the
Yes.
3?
And yeah, everyone has to know that because even though it's just by a little bit,
it's still important. It still matters.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long have you now lived in Ohio?
It has been almost 4 years now. So I moved down here in 2020 to work at Nationwide.
Which we're just about to get into. You are a music therapist at Nationwide Children's Hospital. That's why you moved to Ohio. Mm-hmm. And that's what you went to school for as well. So tell me, what exactly is music therapy?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not a lot of people know about music therapy, and I didn't either until I attended undergrad. But basically, music therapy is the use of music to reach non-musical goals, but you can also use music to reach musical goals too. But so things like using music for regulation or music for motivation to move in physical therapy, or music for improving quality of life and hospice care, things like that, or even music for learning and working on things like attention and executive function skills too.
And so was your undergraduate degree in music therapy? Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Your degree?
Yep.
Okay. So it's 4 years, and do you have any kind of internship or field work?
Yes. So it is 4 years of courses, classwork, and then there is a 6-month internship requirement that I completed after those 4 years, which I actually got to do in Virginia Beach. So that was pretty cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, 6 months, and then after that you could graduate, and
Yep, after that I could graduate, and then you still need a certification, so you have to pass a board exam before you can become an official music therapist.
That's awesome. Now, this is really cool. I remember hearing about music therapy, I think for the first time when I was in high school. I had a friend who was really into music and was interested in it, though she didn't end up going down that path. But I'm wondering if now it's getting a little bit more well-known and popular, amongst or just with the medical profession. Do all hospitals have this, or many, or?
Yeah, a lot of hospitals nowadays do have music therapy programs, often aligned with their child life programs, especially in children's hospitals, I will say. But it is still a growing field, and music therapy as a career has only really been around since the 1940s. It actually started in working with World War II veterans and working with their physical rehabilitation as well as their mental health and stuff like that.
Oh, that's really interesting. Now, you mentioned child life therapists, right? Is that what you said?
Child life specialists.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe I said the wrong thing.
Well, I might have, yeah. So that is focusing on, so you're more the role of music and helping patients' goals, or reach their goals, as opposed to a child life specialist what exactly do they do?
Their job is very similar to ours in that they are still working with kids to help them meet their goals, whether it's just giving them autonomy while they're in the hospital or helping them get through a procedure by providing some alternate ways of engaging with them during a procedure, or just by making their hospital stay a little better by providing appropriate resources and toys and activities and things like that.
So where do you typically find music therapists? Like, where are they working?
Yeah, they are all over. So I work in a hospital, and actually Nationwide Children's has the largest music therapy team in the country right now, which is kind of cool. But other than in hospital settings, you can find them working in hospice care. You can find them in schools for kids with special needs. You can find them in adult day centers and nursing homes, in rehab centers, and a bunch of other places too.
It is interesting just the role of music that is in healing, I guess, and just that maybe people are recognizing that more, like the medical profession is seeing you guys as like part of the team, right? To like be able to care for this patient. Is that something like in your training that you guys really focused on, was just how it can help in healing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who've never heard of music therapy can understand why music would be helpful in the healing process. And we have like doctors who I work with at the hospital who maybe I'm meeting for the first time, and they like intuitively want to be playing music if they're going to be giving a shot to a baby. Like they think, oh, that might help them get through this. So I do think it's becoming more common. And also if you think about yourself, like a lot of people use music as a coping skill. So like if you're feeling off, you might listen to a playlist that helps you, get through whatever you're feeling. And we use music when we work out to keep us motivated to do those things. And so yeah, music can be a really effective tool.
I like that doctors intuitively know sometimes. And I think probably all of us can say, yeah, like we just kind of know, even if maybe we haven't like given it a whole lot of thought, that maybe it's something we use to help like regulate our emotions or something. Yeah, that just helps. So
yeah, I will say though, it's not always the answer.
Okay.
So like, for instance, if I get a call to see a baby, which we can get more into the specifics of my job later, and they have a dirty diaper and they're like, oh, they need music therapy right now. I'm like, well, actually they need their diaper changed. That's why they're crying. Like, they don't actually need me to sing to them right now.
That's happened to you?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think actually that's a great segue into maybe getting more specific into like what you do specifically as a music therapist. So maybe tell me about a typical day. Like, what do you do?
Sure. Well, to start, there is no typical day in the hospital setting, but I can give you some things that may happen throughout the week that might all end up happening in one day.
I don't know if we said this or not. I don't think we did, but you work in the NICU.
Yes, I do. The Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, for those of you who don't know. So at Nationwide, we have one of the largest NICUs. We have 120 beds. So it's split up into 4 units. Each is specialized a little differently, but there are lots of babies there.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of shadowing Chloe for half a day, and she's correct. Like, it is huge, this NICU. Like, I'd been into one other NICU before, but it just didn't even compare to how big it is. Just so many, like you said, so many beds.
Yeah, and to clarify, so Nationwide Children's, I work at main campus, but their NICU, they actually own, quote unquote, own the NICUs at all the delivery sites too. So I do not go to those NICUs.
So then going back to the question, how would you describe a typical day?
Sure. Yeah. So typically I start my day looking at the medical chart and just seeing who's on my list that day, and then kind of prioritizing patients based on if they maybe recently had a painful procedure and might need some help with pain management, or if parents aren't going to be there today, I might because they won't be able to get out of bed otherwise, unless nursing has the time to do so. Or if I know another therapist is going to check in with someone, I might not check in on that day. So that can kind of frame my day, but we also have little pagers, and nurses will call us if they have a baby who is in need of immediate support, like they just won't stop crying, or they're going to do a painful procedure and they want some support then, or if parents are there and they want to do a session, or if they're older and they're awake and want to play and need to get out of bed, they'll call us for that too. So I kind of just go where they call me, and then when I'm not doing that, I'm checking in on my higher priority kiddos.
Yeah, no, I definitely got to see that, like when I was with you at work, And you're right, like you would kind of go where you were needed. And then some of the visits were really short.
Mm-hmm.
And there might not even necessarily be music involved, right? Like you were like helping hold a baby.
So babies in the hospital have cares every 3 or 4 hours, depending. And cares is, a nurse just does cares every, few hours.
So like changing a diaper,
giving meds, starting a feed, things like that. And a lot of our premature babies benefit from having a second set of hands to provide containment so that they're not flailing all over the place. It just helps them to keep calm. And so one of the sessions that Deaconess is referring to is that we had a premature baby who, at that age, I wouldn't introduce music until after all the other stimulation was over. And so I was just providing that containment. I wasn't singing. And then I had to go afterwards, so I didn't end up doing any music with him. Yeah.
Just thinking about our last visit with your favorite baby. That one was a lot longer, and I saw more of like that play, and you would sing a lot of songs and got out your guitar, right?
Yes.
Or ukulele. Okay, your guitar.
A guitar. It was a mini guitar.
Mini guitar, yeah. So that, I feel like that visit especially, I saw maybe more of the music side, though you were singing with some of the other babies too while you were holding them. But yeah, no, I loved getting to shadow you for half a day. That was really fun. Something else I noticed I really liked that you guys did was you had like the heartbeat recordings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain like what that is?
Yeah. So one of the interventions that we offer to families at the hospital is a heartbeat recording. And typically we offer this for any family who's dealing with an end-of-life situation. So if there's a baby that's really, really sick, we might introduce some memory-making type things. So we work really closely with our child life specialists to get like handprints and footprints, pictures, things like that. And then another thing that we do as a music therapy team is offer to get a heartbeat recording so that they can hear their baby's heartbeat whenever they want to. And one of my favorite parts about that is that we can actually offer, if they have a song that's especially meaningful to them, we can offer to record the song over the top of the heartbeat, like to the beat of the baby's heartbeat. We also get to offer it for other special occasions. So like if a baby's having surgery, we might do one before and after as kind of like a special project, or some of our babies turn 1 while they're in the NICU. So we'll do a birthday heartbeat recording as well.
And something else I noticed I think for one of the babies we saw that there was like the recording of the mother's voice.
Oh yeah.
Inside the, what do you call it?
It was a speaker, and it was one of our dino egg speakers. So it looks like a dino egg. It's really cute.
Yeah.
And there are not a whole lot of speakers that are approved to go inside an isolette, which is what this baby was in.
Isolette. Okay.
Isolette. Yeah. Or a warmer. So it's like the plastic box that keeps the preemies warm. But yeah, so we can work with parents, especially our preemies, and kind of teach them how to engage with their baby using their voice, whether it's just talking and reading stories or singing, which we, of course, like as music therapists. But we can help parents record their voice, and that way their baby can hear it whenever they want, even if parents aren't at bedside, which it's really hard to be at bedside 24/7. So it's a cool thing to offer families.
And I know something else that you help with that unfortunately I could not see. Well, maybe it's good that I couldn't see. I don't know. But when there's a circumcision of a baby, that every time a music therapist gets called, or maybe not every time.
It depends on the doctor, but most of the time we do get called now. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, sometimes we get called to help with procedures. So it's not just circumcisions. That one I talk about a lot because I did a project on that for my master's, but so things like circumcisions, IV placements, lab draws, echoes, any other ultrasounds can be really just stressful and sometimes painful too. So having that added music for alternate engagement has been helpful. Yeah. And I think it helps calm like the nurses and doctors down too. So that's fun.
Oh, that's so cool. You're right. You're not just helping the baby, but everyone are in that situation. It's probably a little on edge and nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the joys and then challenges of your job?
Yeah, I'll start with challenges because we should end on a happy note. But Working in any hospital setting, you kind of have to prepare yourself for working with some sad situations. I see a lot of very unfortunate social situations with our families. And also, of course, like patient death is kind of unavoidable when you work in an ICU setting. So that's really hard. And it's great that I have a good team that we can deal with that together. I think too, some of the challenges is that like a lot of these babies are in the hospital for a long time. And especially on one of our units, like I said, they turn one on our units sometimes, like they're there for a year, sometimes 2 years. And sometimes they get to go home, sometimes they don't. And then when they do go home, it's really good, but it's also sad for us when we've like had them in our lives for a long time and then we have to say goodbye, even though it's a good goodbye. So those are some of the challenges. The joys, though, is that these babies are miracles. And I mean, it's just really amazing to see them beat the odds and grow and develop and start smiling and interacting. And I don't know, it's just beautiful.
You get to see a side of life that a lot of people don't get to see, you know, like both the, very difficult part of seeing, babies suffer and then sometimes die, but also just to, get to see babies that probably wouldn't have survived not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, if they're preterm or whatever's going on, and like the medical team helping to where they can heal and go home.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
So, part of me like getting to interview you was what I said at the beginning about this is one of the vocations that God called you to. And I guess I am curious just your thoughts as a Christian, like how should we think about being a music therapist and a Christian?
I think you don't even have to, there's nothing too specific about a music therapist that anybody else can't do. Like when I'm thinking about myself as a Christian, I'm thinking, how can I love and serve my neighbor well today? I'm not thinking it has to be in the form of music therapist, because even like you said, sometimes I wasn't singing, but I was helping like provide containment, and that works. And even things like getting called to a room because a baby's diaper is dirty. I'm not going to just be like, oh, somebody come take care of this. Like I'm going to help and change a few babies' diapers if nurses are busy. So I think just serving in any way I can. And also like when parents do express that they have faith, encouraging them in that, because this is a really tough time in their lives. Like they didn't expect it, or maybe they did expect it, but being in the NICU is traumatic. So it's cool to be able to walk alongside people's faith when they do express theirs.
That's so cool. And even if they don't, I'm sure you don't always know like what their faith is, but I don't know, just your care and love towards them, like they're going to remember that. Like you said, this is probably one of the most distressing experiences of their lives. And I think those kind of things 100% matter. Ultimately does, that does point to Christ in that way, I guess. If someone is thinking about becoming a music therapist, how do they know if they should maybe pursue this or not?
That's a great question. First of all, you do have to have some musical skill to be a music therapist. You have to be able to like carry a tune, play some instruments, things like that. Although if you can't do that now, but can learn, like that's okay. I didn't know how to play guitar until undergrad. So, and I didn't know how to sing while playing guitar until then either. Cause that's
okay. So that's a skill that you had to grow in.
Yeah. But you can grow. I think you have to like working with people too.
And you don't necessarily have to work with babies either.
Right.
We were talking about
there's so many more options.
Even like the elderly too, right?
Oh yeah.
Or like in other hospice situations.
Hospice, nursing homes, memory care, you name it. Really,
Gotcha.
Anywhere you want a music therapist, you could put one. And that's another part.
And you mentioned even in schools, like it's not just the hospital setting.
Yeah. But that's another part of like, if you're considering it, you have to be aware that you're going to have to advocate a lot for music therapy, because it still is a growing field and not a lot of people know what it is, or there's some misconceptions about it. Like, oh, you're just entertaining people and, which is fine. Entertainment is good, but that's not the whole of what we're doing. So you have to be willing to advocate for yourself too.
Well, very good. I'm glad we could have this opportunity just to like let St. John know exactly like what music therapy is. Okay, and let's end on a fun note. What is the weirdest song that you've had to sing to a baby?
One of my patients, who was one of our long-term patients, she obviously couldn't speak to me, but her mom was just very convinced that she liked 90s R&B. So her favorite song that I did with her was No Scrubs by TLC. And it was great. She actually her vitals improved when we were doing it. Yeah, so
that's
it was good.
So great. So her mom knew.
Her mom knew. Yeah. Mothers always know.
They always know. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I said this to the Schneck family as well, to Joy and Brian when I had them on about foster care. But if people from St. John like want to just talk to you about music therapy, have questions, like I'm sure they can just find you at church,
yes,
right?
Please do. I love to talk about it. And also, I just want to tell you, Deaconess, that it was like take your friend to work day when you came to shadow me. So that was lots of fun. And if anyone else wants to shadow me, just let me know. I mean, maybe we can make it happen.
Yeah, especially if there are like youth who legit do want to try it.
Absolutely.
Like I remember being a little worried that would be a whole process trying to get me to shadow you. I think you were
it's
a little
lot easier than you would
it
think.
was really easy. Yeah, I just had to fill out I mean, I barely had to. It was very short forms I had to fill out and send to your supervisor and then pick a day. I don't know. That was it. And it was great. Well, very good. Thank you so much for joining us, talking about your vocation as a music therapist, and blessings on your care and mercy that you're showing these babies and their families.
Thank you. It was fun to be on. Thanks for having me.
Great. All right. Take care, you guys. Bye.